Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today we're going to be playing with some of the new club kits from Spellbinders. You guys know how much I love this stuff, and I am getting only a few of them, so let's go ahead and take a look at what I got this month. To be honest, I opened this up and then I put it away, and then I have not at this point gone back and looked through it again. So we're going to start off with the embossing folder of the month. The 3D embossing folder of the month, and it has some lovely flowers and greenery. This one is so pretty. So we started off with the 3D embossing folder, and next we've got these cute little bunnies. This is the Pocket Bunny Stamp and Die of the month. So we've got a cute little bunny in a pocket. We've got a cute little bunny with a swag of some flowers, some daisies, and we've got one that is in a cute little Easter egg. It says, sending a pocket full of happiness, hopping by to say hi. Have a beautiful day and happy Easter. So these guys are super cute. So this is great for like an Easter card, especially if you want to use the egg, or you can just do them for spring, because little bunnies on a spring card would be super awesome. I'm thinking you could basically do any season with that. So that is the Stamp and Die. Oh yes. And then the next thing that I've got is the Glimmer of the month, and I don't remember the title of it, and I've got it covered up. But it is these lovely glimmer tulips. This one is tulip border. And then it's also got a couple of sentiments. One says, sending flowers and a smile. And then we've got, is this more blooms? Oh no, it's hope blooms. And then we've also got a die that will cut out your glimmer border. So you can do some, you could add a little dimension and stuff to it as well. I thought that is super, super pretty. Great for spring cards. And then we've got this big one that is Spring Reflection. This is the large die of the month. And it has a die that is A2 card size. It's got a couple of frame borders so you could use them together or separate, some fun sentiments, and then some dies that do some pretty layered flowers. So what I think I want to start off with, because it's so darn cute, is the Pocket Bunnies. These guys are adorable. I think I'm going to start off with those today. I'm going to go ahead and just stamp up some of these little images. And since this is the Stamp and Die of the month, it does have matching dies. So we've got a die for the Pocket Bunny and for the Easter egg bunny, but not one for this one down here. And we have some dies for a couple of the sentiments. Actually, I think all the sentiments. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we have dies for all 4 of the sentiments. So that is super cool. So I think what I'm going to do the Easter egg. That'll be super cute. I'll do the Easter egg, and I'll do the Pocket Bunny. Go ahead and stamp those guys out, and then I can decide what do I want to do with them when it comes time to put them on a card, right? Okay. And these are brand new stamps. I have not used them before, so they have not been conditioned yet. So it is going to require that I stamp them probably 2 or 3 times. Okay. So go ahead and add a couple more layers of ink here. Following the linings on your cheeks. So next I'm going to color up my little guys here. These are just so adorable. I've got my IG markers, which are kind of an ice gray. I think that's what IG actually stands for. And then the BG, which is kind of a brown gray, which would kind of give a warmer tone to my little bunnies. So let me just double check. So here's my darkest shade. And my lightest. The lightest is probably going to be fine. And you're probably wondering, why in the world would you color white bunnies brown? So what I'm doing is I'm basically going to add a little bit of shadow, because even something that is white has a little bit of a shade or a little bit of a shadow that's a darker color. So I am going to just start off with this light brown, just around the edges and where we would have a little bit of shadow to give a little bit of shape to our bunny. Okay, you still might not be able to see, but it's a very, very light color. But it does give a little bit of shape to our bunny. I'm not done yet. I've got a lot more to go on here. But this is kind of a simple coloring, and doing the shadows with white is actually easier, in my opinion, than going in and doing everything in a darker color. Like if you wanted to make a black bunny would be really hard to do. I have issues trying to do the blacks because what you use for blacks is grays. And I may not come in with the other one at all. It depends. Do I need any actual dark area? I'm just going over with a second layer in those places that I've already done, and that's adding a little bit darker of a shadow there. So it's adding a little bit of shape. Then if I need to, I can always use my colorless blender, which is basically like a clear alcohol marker, to kind of blend those out into the rest of the white.
Following the linings on your cheeks, 'cause baby in your absence life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love, oh, oh. It's easier to love, oh, oh. Easier to love, oh, oh. Easier to love.
So next I'm going to go in with some pink, and this is the AP1, and of course I want to do the pink for the little pink nose and for inside the ears. Now this is a brighter pink than I probably want. Actually, nope, it's working good. I am going to come in with my colorless blender though and blend it out a little bit in the ear so it has a little bit of a lighter color going further out, and see how that does. This is one of those tools that I have in my crafty arsenal that I don't use a whole lot. I don't use my colorless blender nearly as much as I probably should. So I don't have a lot of practice in it. And I'm a little out of practice in coloring in general because I've done so much glimmer. Love the glimmer. Those tulips are going to be gorgeous. But I love my glimmer and I love my die cutting. But this bunny is so cute. Okay. And while I'm at it, let's go ahead and get the other little bunny's nose. So tiny. I'm just barely dotting my marker down onto it. And then we'll put a little bit of the pink up in there and then bring that out with the colorless blender. I also have better results on mine with using the chisel nib on this marker. I think it just gets a hold of I'm not sure, maybe I let it dry out too much at one point, I'm not sure, but it always seems that it doesn't really seem to get any kind of ink out, the colorless ink out using the bullet nib. Don't know why. And since we're doing pink, I'm going to grab my AP2. I think that is going to be a good darker color for this. Actually, it is a little bit dark. Let me see what the AP3 looks like. Yes, I usually swatch everything out and check them out to see if it's going to look right. So I'm going to use my AP3 as my darkest, down around the base of my tulips. And for a little bit of shadow around and shading around some of the petals. These are very tiny images, so you don't really need a whole lot. But then I'm coming back in with my AP1. I'm going to blend it out. We're going to have it lighter towards the tips. That looks really cute. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add some pink to our egg. And this is a really thin line, so I'm just using the tip of my marker. Now for our other little balloon guy, that one, I think I want those to be daisies. So we're going to want some yellow for the centers. I'm going to grab my CT1 and CT2. Not going to have a lot of dimension, but there is a little bit of dimension already kind of drawn in. So just going on part of it with this darker one, and then I'll fill in the rest with a lighter. That adds just a tiny bit of depth to those. And since I still have my IG colors, I can go in with these and do a little bit of shading for my daisies. And just a little bit. I'm just going to bring it out a little bit from the inside just to give them a little bit more depth. So now we've got the pocket. There's a couple of things you can do. Well, there's a lot of things you can do with the pocket. You could just do it like standard denim, and I think that might be what I'm going to do. But you could mask everything off and stamp it with some kind of a pattern. That would be pretty. I may do that on another card, but I'm not going to do that today. Today, I'm going to go with some light blue. Okay, so I'm going to use my TB2 as my darkest, and then use the IB1 as my lightest. And just coming in from the outside of my little pocket. And straight lines make it real easy to practice some of this kind of coloring. Also, though, going to come in underneath the bunny to add a little bit of shadow underneath his arms where he's kind of hanging out of the pocket. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my IB1 and just bring some of that color out into the center, just blending it out. Kind of try to make it a smooth blend. I do want to leave the center lighter than the outside. So I'm going to come back in with the TB2 again and make those edges just a little bit darker. So I'm just going to come back in and do the same thing, pulling some of that color out a little bit further into the center. And then filling it in with this pretty tealish blue color. And that little guy is done. So now I can work some more on the other one. Now another trick for doing the shadows, I'm going to use my IG1, and that's going to just add a little bit of shadow around the outside of my egg. Now this is because there's so many different colors there, and I want the whole thing to kind of seem like it's rounded, right? So I'm just going to use this to bring in a little bit of shadow on both sides of my egg, basically all the way around. And then I can add my colors in. And that should make those colors a little bit gray in that area too, if that makes any kind of sense. I'm just using a light hand here. Okay, so I just put a little bit of that gray all around my little egg, and now I can bring in some color. I think I want the top and bottom to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to come back. Of course, I picked the wrong marker. Check your lids. So I'm using, this is the TB2, which I used for the edges of my pocket. So I'm going to come in with that for the ends, and then I'll use the other one in another spot because, you know what? Nobody's going to know, unless they're watching me make this, that I messed up. Okay, and then let's go ahead and put this here. And the stripe being this color, I think that'll be cute. One other thing with the IG, there is the inside of the egg. You can see it up here by the bunny's ears. So I'm going to come in with this color and go ahead and fill that in. And then let it soak in a little bit, and then I'll go back in with another if it doesn't look like it's quite dark enough. And next, there are some green leaves there, so I'll go ahead and do those. I'm going to grab my IG1. That is one of my favorite ones. It's kind of a true green, not too dark, not too light, and nice and bright spring color. This is the lightest, so this is going to be the more new leaf look. And one reason I'm coming in with this next is because I want to make sure I know where my bunny is. All these little lines can sometimes get confusing, and I find most of the time when I am coloring a stamped image, especially when it's a small one with a lot of detail, I kind of miss what things are. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing with the same green, just at the end, the base of my leaves and on the stems. I think I'm going to just do the accents on here and leave the rest of my egg white. So these little dots are going to be this purple. Okay, so the only thing that is left to do on this one, that again was the HB2. Only thing that's left to do on this one is my bunny. The bunny is too white, so I'm going to grab out my BG markers again. These are those grays. And come in with the BG1. Especially around the sides of his face, to give him a little bit of shape there, especially since he's got those big cheeks. Love the cheeks. And adding some shadows to the parts of his body that are hiding behind his legs, because they would be in the shadow anyway. So him being a little bit brown where he's a white bunny looks about right. Okay. I think that little guy is done. So for my background, I decided I want to do some colorful backgrounds, and I'm just going to do some random ink blending using some Catherine Pooler inks. I've got All That Jazz, Pixie Dust, Tutti Frutti, and Party Dress.
Like your smile in the morning, following the linings on your cheeks. 'Cause baby, in your absence life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child through the days and the nights, living in your arms.
And that looks pretty interesting. But here's the thing. I'm going to use my 3D embossing folder for this. Before I put it through my embossing folder, though, I'm going to go ahead and spritz it with some water. Give it a little bit of splatter. And since these are water-reactive ink, it works awesome for this. I did have some of my DIY shimmer sprays over here. I think I want to use one of those too. So this one is gold, and I made this one just using some water and perfect gold, perfect pearls. So I'm going to do a little bit of a spritz on it. So it's going to give it a little shimmer over the top. Spritzing your card with water when you're using an embossing folder helps it so that your card is probably not going to crack. Even though I really haven't had any kind of an issue with that. I'm also using my Platinum 6 machine and the Universal Plate System because this is a 3D embossing folder. This one has 2 plates, so I'm going to take this top one off and use this one, and it is designed specifically to use with a 3D embossing folder. So I'll put that down there. Open up my embossing folder and place my card inside. This needs the adapter plate. The adapter plate is so that it's going to put enough pressure down. It's made from a little bit different material. And it also came with that Universal Plate System. So I'll put that in there too. And then I can just crank that through. It is a little tight. And let's take a look. Oh, that is pretty. So I think that is going to be a real pretty background for our bunny. Now, which bunny do I want to use? So we've got our Easter egg bunny, and then we've got our pocket bunny. Or I could do 2 separate cards. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to slice this in half using my paper trimmer. So this is 5.5. I'm sorry, yeah, 5.5. So I'm going to go with about 2 and 5/8. 2 and 5/8, I think. No, 5. This is 5 inches that okay. 2 and 3/8. I was thinking it didn't look right. And here's kind of the idea as what I'm going to go with. But before I do that, because I love it so much, I'm going to be using my foam as usual. So I'm going to add some foam to the back of both. Add some foam to the back of both my little bunnies and the panels. Oh, these are just so pretty. Sometimes I am absolutely shocked at how well a card turns out, especially when I had no plan going into it. Okay, so I'm going to take my card panel here, and I'm going to center this. Now let's see, which one do I want on which? I think I want that bunny, actually. Okay, doesn't really matter. I think they're going to look great either way. So I'm going to take the release paper off the back and grab out my art glitter glue. I'm adding some liquid glue to the back here, and the reason for that is there's a pretty large chance that I'm not going to put my panel down straight, and a little bit of glue gives me a chance to move it around if I need to, just in case. So go ahead and center that right in the middle. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my little bunny. Then I have to think about the sentiments and what I want to do with that. There we go. So next I need to work out a couple of sentiments. And these are ones that have got dies to go along with them, which is awesome. One says, sending a pocket full of happiness, that I think would be awesome to go with that little bunny there. I'm going to go ahead and stamp them out and cut them out and then decide if I actually want to put them on the outside or if I just want to stamp on the inside, because I don't know if I can bring myself to cover up the cute little bunnies. I am so bad about that. Okay. So just adding some ink down to my stamp. And those look good. Okay, so like I did before, I'm going to use a couple pieces of tape to hold the dies in place for my little sentiments. So I'm just going to line it up around my image, making sure it's not cutting off any part of any of the words. And these are kind of snug around there. Okay, do the same thing with it. So let's go ahead and run that through the die cutting machine. Now let's see how I did. So those look great. And that one's going to need smaller pieces than this one will, but okay, use half of the piece that I just cut to put over on the other side. And then cut it in half again. I could put it at the top. Do I want it at the top or the bottom? I'm going to leave that to the side for a second while I decide if that's where I want. I think that's going to be a good place for it. I think that'll be super cute. Okay. Go ahead and take the release paper off the back of that one. We're going to give this a shot in my Misty because I know, well, no. I'm going to do what I should do. I'm going to use a stamping block and hope that everything stamps the way I want it to. So I've got a square one here that is big enough to handle my bunny. And it doesn't really matter if I get it straight or what I count as straight for this piece. So I actually kind of want him a little bit at an angle there. Just let it rest for a second. Let the ink soak in. He's so cute. Okay. And then for the other one, let me grab out a second block to do it. And that's because I'm going to be using this other one again on the inside of the other card. So this one says, have a beautiful day. And I do have it going the right direction. And I'm just going to stamp that right beside our little bunny. And that card is done. And that card is done. So that is going to finish up this card video using the new Stampin' Die of the Month. Yes, from Spellbinders. These guys just turned out so cute. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. Be sure to check out this playlist over here to see more videos where I'm using Spellbinders products, and I will talk to you soon. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.
If I